This is a beautiful start here at Djuma Game Reserve with the dead tree silhouetted against a dawn sky. It promises to be a wonderful day. My name is Tristan. On camera today I have got Fergus. There we go. There's the thumb from Fergus. Very jolly thumb this morning. We are coming to you live from South Africa, which means that you can get hold of us on hashtag Safari Live or on YouTube chat. So the thing is we've started out this morning. We've come out a little bit earlier than we normally do, and we've already found some tracks for a leopard which has crossed vertical axis and is going southwards towards the power line. So we're down on the side trying to see if they cross this road. Nothing that I've seen so far going to the west, which is excellent news, because at the end of the day we're not far from our western boundary. So I'm hoping that this leopard has gone south and has stayed within our area. That's the idea anyway. So we're going to be on that trail this morning and try and see what we can find and see if we can get lucky. It's been a few days without leopard, and so I'd like to know who this is as well. The other thing about it is that it looks like there might even be two of them here, so I'm interested to see who this could be. Maybe our new male leopard is in the area. You never know. So let's see what we can do and what we can try and find, and while we do that, let's go to Scotty D, so he can tell you what his plans are for the morning.
Well, exciting stuff there with Tristan and those leopard tracks. Let's hope he gets lucky soon. Our morning is also quite heavily leopard orientated at the moment. We are at a leopard's den site, and it's basically underneath that dark green bush that you're looking at over there. My name's Scott Dyson. It's great to have you on safari with myself and Senzo on camera. Now, we have only seen the leopardess in this area once with her young cub. We only got a few little glimpses of her, and since then we haven't seen her here yet. We've been coming here every drive in the hope that we're going to catch her on sight. Now, it could mean two things. It could mean our luck has been bad, and each time we come here she's simply not here and the cub's hiding away, or who knows, maybe she has moved the den to another spot. Tristan suggested that, who knows, maybe she's moved the den back to the previous den sites, and his theory is that maybe she moved the cub here to be closer to an impala kill that she fed on for 3 days. That is no longer the case. She's no longer feeding on that kill, which makes it tricky for us to try and work out where she is exactly, because she could be on another kill elsewhere, or who knows, she could be spending a lot of her time trying to get her next meal. Let's have one little zoom into that little dark section and see if we haven't overlooked anything. When I was here last with her, it was incredibly difficult to see even her, an adult female leopardess. And without her on sight, I'm confident that that cub is going to be tucked away, hiding from not just us, but from any threats. Doesn't look like Mom's in there, does it? If any of you guys spot anything, please let me know, but I don't think I can see the telltale signs of a leopard hiding in there. So I think what we'll do is we'll do a big kind of loop around this general area and try and establish if we can't find any tracks of her, and that will help us work out where she currently is. And once we do find her, hopefully if she is on a kill, then she might lead us back to either this den site or possibly a new one, if in fact that is the case. So it seems like not only Tristan is going to be tracking leopards this morning, but also me. At least initially, that's one of the things on safari. Your plans often change. You need to be versatile and flexible, because you have to take whatever opportunities Mother Nature provides you with, really. And we're going to need to give Tristan some time off the vehicle, which sadly you can't join him on. It's actually something that would be nice for us to work on, for us to be able to have a very easily deployable backpack that we use for the bushwalk. And then that way, even during a drive, we can just hop off and take you along with for those short tracking exercises. It would be a lot of fun. And it would also mean that we wouldn't have to rush ourselves, because we tend to find that because we don't want to leave you guys stranded on the vehicle alone, we tend to rush the tracking, and tracking is not an activity that is easy to do when you're in a rush. So that's something we can work on, I guess. what I want to do is I just want to have a look around in one or two more spots here, because even though the den was off to our right, there's quite a few good spots where in the same area where she could well just be hanging out under this fallen down tree. Here's another good example of a spot where she could hide out with the cub quite safely. And then there's just one little spot further up ahead here that another fallen down tree, and there's not much cover there. There's this one off to our right over here, but there's not much of a cave or a depression in and underneath that root system. I was thinking maybe in and under there would be a decent spot, but doesn't look like it on closer inspection. Okay. I'm just scanning around, hoping to see her come back, because if she does, that little tiny cub will be so excited to see her. It's been here all alone. It doesn't have any siblings as far as we're aware. It's an only child, and who knows how long it would have been away from its mom for, but it'll certainly be very hungry and excited to see her. Hi, Matt. Great to have you on safari with us, and if any of you would also like to have your questions answered like Matt, please send them through. And Matt, you're wondering what kind of qualities or attributes would a good den site have? And I guess it would be inaccessible to most other large animals. So something like a rocky cave can't be dug out, and the only animals that can get into kind of small crevices that would provide a threat to leopard would be pythons. And pythons have been accounted for not only killing leopard cubs, but killing quite a few young animals that live in kind of termite mounds. I've seen a python that ate 3 baby side-striped jackal once. So I guess a small rocky outcrop would be good. Sandy areas can be dug out. The small caves that these leopard are using can easily be accessed by hyena, male leopard, possibly even lion. So Djuma, to be honest, doesn't have the best den sites that I've seen other leopards having access to in other areas of not only the Sabi sands but of Africa. I guess cavities and trees would be a good spot. And then on top of that, Matt, it's not just the site itself that plays an important role on the safety of the cubs, but also how often the mother moves them. There's no two ways about it. The animals and threats to the cubs, their senses are so good, be it a leopard, be it a lion, be it a hyena, that they can smell leopard, and if they have a lot of sense of a leopard going back into one area all the time, naturally quite a few of those animals are going to get inquisitive. And that's why we've noticed that Tundi and most leopards will move their cubs fairly regularly, about every 2 weeks at least, especially when the cubs are very young. Now, something that does make me confident that she is still here is that there were some tracks of her. They're going to be very difficult to see, but coming out on this game trail and then out on the road. So we are going to continue kind of trying to work out if we can find any tracks of her, and while we do that, we're going to send you to a stunning sunrise with Tristan.
Indeed, it is as stunning as it gets. This massive big orange sun is just coming through the marula trees, and it is really quite spectacular. So it's a beautiful start to the day, as I was alluding to earlier in the morning. It is absolutely wonderful, and like I said, the light is amazing. Everything is very, very cool about it. So while we were sitting trying to track our leopard, we were on the tracks of the leopard, and all of a sudden we had this big booming roar from what must only be one of the Birminghams somewhere very close by. So we're going to try and see if we can find it. Sounded like it was coming somewhere from just north of the camp, maybe even around the dam area. So we're going to try and just shoot down there quickly and see if we can find it. It's been so long since I've I've seen a male lion roaring on Djuma. That's, well, I'm not even sure I actually heard it, and maybe it's just a figment of my imagination. But we're going to try and quickly do that, and then we'll come back to the leopard tracks later. Otherwise, if Scotty's around, he's welcome to come and follow up on those leopard tracks too. I know he loves a bit of tracking as much as I do, so we'll try and sort of see between the two of us if we can find that leopard. They're not the freshest leopard tracks as well. The tracks are kind of, there's one elephant that's walked on top, and there's another elephant that the leopard has gone on top of. So I think from probably sort of middle of last night, which means that they could be very far away. I was hoping that they might be quite close, but I can't find any tracks crossing the power line at this stage, but that's not to say that they don't. Now I wonder where is going to be best to check. I think let's take Gallagher's shortcuts and head up towards the Buffelshoek boundary and see if we can find tracks from there, because either this animal is moving north-south or it's moving south-north. Now if it's south-north, maybe we can catch it before it crosses, but if it's north-south, we can maybe get the tracks quickly and try and then follow it to wherever it may be. But it did sound like somewhere in this general sort of vicinity to my left, so that's why I want to head in this direction. Fergus, what say you? You reckon this side as well?
I do, yeah.
And there we go. So Fergus is in agreement with me. Doesn't think that I'm absolutely mad and just driving myself. You do think I'm mad? Yes. Well, that's a different story. Not mad in terms of the actual place where I want to go. Right, so Scotty apparently is going to check Philemon's cut line and see if he can find anything around there for that leopard that I was talking about. So hopefully he'll be lucky and pick up some tracks, which will be nice. So, PT Watcher, you're wondering how long until Thandi brings the cub out to sort of kills and to move around? Well, not long now. I would say within the next 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, we should start seeing that little cub moving around. Its age is, we don't know exact age, but we think it's between sort of 6 and 7 weeks old, maybe even a little bit older than that. When I did see the cub the other day and kind of got it on film for the first time, it seemed a little bit more kind of mobile than I thought it would be, so it might be a little older than that. Maybe we're looking at an individual that is closer to 8 weeks, but normally you'll find from about 10 to 12 weeks, that's where they start coming out and start moving around. At 12 weeks old, they're able to start climbing trees, and once they can start climbing trees, mom is a lot more sort of prone to bringing her out, or it out, we don't know if it's a boy or a girl, and let it kind of play around and move around with her, as well as the fact that it starts going on to meat at that age. So it's a good idea for her to, you know, keep it safe until then, and then once we get to that age, then of course she can start to bring it out and start showing her off or him off, whichever one it may be. Trista, you're wondering if she's been using Karula's old dens. Have they all been checked? Well, Trista, I personally don't actually know where all the dens are. I mean, my experience with Karula and denning on Djuma is very limited, because I got you and Shongile and Hosana were already close to a year old, and prior to that I didn't work on Djuma itself before that, so I'm not really sure where else she may have denned, but I'll ask the guys. I'll speak to Tax and Aubrey, but I know that she used to use the lodge a lot, so she used to den under the decks and those kind of things, and that we would have noticed fairly quickly. If you start to see a leopard in and around camp, the word spreads quite fast, and so I don't think she's in camp just yet, but she might be using other ones that Karula used. I'm not sure. We'll have to just go and double check and search and see if we can find sort of any sign on any of them, and see if there is any sort of pattern that develops in areas where maybe Aubrey and Tax have seen Karula den before. Right, now I need to just quickly check around and just see where exactly this Birmingham may have called from. I might just turn off and stop and listen for a bit, so if anyone hears anything on the dam cam, be sure to give us a shout and let us know via all the different platforms. But in the meantime, while I try and search for some tracks and head north onto the boundary, let's go back across to Scott and see where his next route is going to be, and whether or not he's had any luck with those leopard tracks just yet.
So, We haven't had any luck with any leopard tracks yet, but Tristan kindly offered for us to head into the kind of general area where he had those tracks of his own a little bit earlier, before possibly that male lion distracted him, and what a pleasant distraction that is. I hope he gets lucky there. Like I was mentioning yesterday on the sunset safari, I find it incredibly difficult to be able to pinpoint where animals' calls are coming from. You've simply got no idea which way they're facing when they make the call, and also you don't have any idea how much volume they are speaking with. You know, just like us, they can speak softly or they can speak loudly. So it's always tricky business working out audio, or at least for me. The fact that my hearing is not great probably doesn't help me. It's quite interesting. I went to get my ears tested to try and work out if it was just me, or if it was actually, you know, my ears, or if I was just not believing in myself. And I had this test done, and basically everyone's ears hears in many different kind of wavelengths. So in general my hearing is kind of okay. They didn't say there was any major issues. They said I was a little bit below par, but nothing serious. But with one or two certain frequencies, and I forget how she explained it, the ear doctor lady, but basically kind of low pitched sounds, my ear doesn't hear very well, or my ears don't hear very well, and that kind of injury or damage is caused by your ears being exposed to loud noises. So who knows, maybe it was too much loud music in my old 1964 Volvo B122S with red leather seats and spinning rims. Hello Patrick, you would like to know how old is the oldest leopard here on Djuma, and roughly how old is it? And I would guess it to be Mvula, a big male leopard, who is probably 12-13 years old now. The males usually don't live as old as the females, but we don't have any old females. Tundi, the female with the cub that we were hoping to find this morning, is 11 years of age. So she's getting along nicely, but certainly she's not an old lady just yet. There have been some leopardess recorded to reach 20 years of age in the Sabi Sands. It's uncommon, but possible. I wonder if I'm wrong about that, the oldest leopard. Yeah, I think the oldest will be a male in our area of traverse at the moment. I'm sure there's a few much older leopards cruising around the Sabi Sands somewhere. We basically traverse 1/50th, not even, of the entire Sabi Sands. So it gives you an idea of how big this reserve is, and how much of that we get to see. And even on our little area of traverse, we get to see Tundi, Shadow. Let's talk about just big dominant leopards for the start. Tingana, Mvula, another skittish male, maybe another female every now and then. So that's not to say there's 6 leopards in every 1,000 hectares roughly, but I'd say on average, you know, there's at least a female every 3,000 or 4,000 hectares. So there's probably around 20 or 30 leopardess in the Sabi Sands. Tristan, you ask an interesting question. Why is it that none of the high profile animals like Tundi or Tingana or some of the lions, why don't they have radio tracking collars? And I often kind of wonder to myself as well, Tristan, would it be something worth doing? But it would just take that elements of surprise and that elements of unknown out of what we do. And without the elements of surprise on safari, I think we are missing one of the key ingredients which makes safari so exciting. The fact that you do not know if and when and how you're going to see something. So And I think it's very important. I think it's important to have to work for the animals and, you know, put some time in getting to find them. Whereas if they were just to be delivered on a plate, it would be quite boring. There'd be no elements of surprise. Having said that, you know, the Musketeer Coalition of Cheetahs in the Maasai Mara, one of them does have a collar. We don't really have access to too much information, sadly, from the people that own that collar, but we're not going to go down that road. But for a while we did, and it did help us out with working out where they were, and there are benefits to it. There's no two ways about it, especially for what we're doing. I think what we're doing is a little bit different. As much as we try and simulate it to be a real safari, it is a little bit different to a regular guide's job, having to give people a good experience for the 3 or 4 nights that they are in any given area. We've got more of an ongoing safari audience and members, and therefore I think it could in some instances be useful to be able to more closely follow the lives of certain animals, because we're trying to dig a little bit deeper. We're not just trying to show you a leopard, which is typically kind of what most guides are doing. When you come out on safari, the guides are just trying to show you the animal. Ideally, they'll be doing something, but even if they're not, you get to go home and say you saw a leopard, and that's the kind of main goal. Whereas we, like I say, are digging a little bit deeper than that. We don't want to just show people an animal, but we'd rather show you what they're getting up to and follow their lives very closely and get a better understanding of what exactly goes on in their lives. So it is a little bit different with what we do. So yeah, I hear you, but my general kind of thought is to avoid collars. Ginger's just brought up a good point, saying that they don't look good in photographs. No, they look absolutely terrible, and while we're filming. So that's something to bear in mind. It is an intrusion on the animal, and I'm not saying that it's not useful, especially for researchers, to collar animals, but it is a bit of an intrusion. The animal has to be put down under anesthetic. There's a chance that something could go wrong there, even though it's slim. And then of course it has to waltz around with a necklace on. So not that that's the end of the world, but I guess they probably don't like it for the first week or so. Okay, we need to rush you off.
Right, so we've managed to come onto Buffelshoek boundary, which is where I thought we would be, and we stopped to turn off to listen, and as we were stopping to listen, up the road came walking exactly what we were looking for. So there is our Birmingham boy striding along the road, and I thought it might be somewhere in this area, and luckily enough we've managed to find it. Now it looks like it's either in Suku or Nhenha. I can't see nicely just yet. It's one of the two of them. They've got those kind of beautiful big manes and a little bit more of an elongated face than Tinyo and Mfumo. Also much cleaner faces than both of those two individuals. Both Tinyo and Mfumo have lots of scars all over the face, whereas as you can see on this individual, his face is not nearly as battered as what those two are. But he is looking magnificent. Isn't it beautiful, with that morning light that is just coming through the mane as he's kind of striding up towards us. Now I'm hoping that he's just going to come past. I'm going to have to just move the car a little bit because the way I'm parked is keeping him in the road. So I'm going to, well, it's going to stop him from walking up the road. So I do apologize, the view might not be as good for now, but I just want to make space and let him at least kind of come along. But look at that, there's the sun rising, male lion walking towards you. It doesn't get much better than that, I'm afraid. That is as good as it gets if you ever want a sort of scenic picture of Africa. But it is Nhenha as far as I can see. Yes, it is Nhenha. So it's very cool to have him here. Nhenha is my favorite of the Birmingham boys. I absolutely love looking at this lion. He's a very pretty individual, and you can see there's the little equals mark over his nose. So for those of you who don't know him, that's his little equal sign that tells us that it is him. Now he's just coming past the vehicle. You can see he's just giving me a little bit of a look. He is a massive individual, huge, and big feet, absolutely incredible. There is not many things that are better than seeing a male lion walking past in that way. So hopefully he is going to roar. He's up, he's moving, he's scent marking, which means that he's in a position where he kind of is sort of advertising his territory, and so hopefully he'll let out one more big booming roar for us. Now what I'm going to try and do is just get another kind of walk by like what we just did. So I'm going to go through onto the fire break and then try and catch him coming over the ridge on the other side. It should be absolutely beautiful. Whether or not it works and he stays on the road, well, that's always anyone's guess. Careful, Ferg, trees in the way. Now he's walking quite quickly, so I'm going to have to do this pretty sharply. Let's try and get around. Now he's off to my right hand side and he's still moving along the road, so I don't know if I'm going to get this right, but let's try. I think we've overtaken him now, which is good news, so we can try and just get around through here without damaging Rusty, because Rusty we've given a hard time enough already. So here we go, this is what I wanted to do. Now it's going to be a bit of a gamble because he's potentially going to go off the road at some point. So what I'm doing is kind of hoping that he's just going to walk in this early morning light and he's just going to stay with us. But I'm just going to try and get myself into that position there, and then we're going to just slowly reverse with him. Daniel, you say you would have to take your heart pills if he walked past you. Well, Daniel, it is quite something when they walk past you. It's an amazing kind of feeling. They look at you and there's just this sort of... Look at that view though, isn't that spectacular, with the morning light over the rolling hills with the big male lion? Well, like I say, Daniel, it is quite amazing when they walk past you. Their size and just the way that they look is so intimidating. It is kind of one of those things where you think, please don't eat me as they come past. But we're lucky enough that our lions, and in particular the Birmingham boys, are very relaxed these days and they don't really stress too much about us being in the way or being around, and so generally they're actually quite nice. Now Ferg, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go down a bit because they're going to come up onto this apex and it should be very pretty as he does, although I think he's already gone over the apex unfortunately. But how's that for an orange sky and a Birmingham male walking straight towards us? That is very cool. It's not every day that you get sort of eye level with a male lion as he walks towards you. Beautiful. And he is one of the more beautiful of the Birminghams. At the end of the day, he's got a nice big mane, and they've developed so much. I'm sure Nicky must not recognize them. You know, when Nicky and Scott were last year, these guys had little puffy manes. They weren't big at all, and now they're these monstrous male lions with massive manes and really are very impressive. And their reign is kind of growing and expanding, and they've done very well. At the end of the day, even though they are obviously male lions that have got a situation where there are, you know, not too many sort of in the way of competition, but they've still expanded nicely and kept all of their cubs safe, which is amazing to see. So it's been really good to kind of follow these guys' progress over the last little bit. Now I'm thinking that he's probably in all likelihood going to go to Tambuti Dam, which is just behind me here. I'm hoping that he was coming from the north. Early this morning I heard him roaring, or one of them roaring, and it sounded like a lot further away than where he is now. So I'm hoping what his movement has been is maybe he's going east-west, I'm not sure, or hopefully he's coming from the north and he's going to come south and turn down Mvubu Road and start heading towards the dam. But isn't that spectacular? Look at this sort of orange in the sky behind him and the dust as he sort of moves and flicks his feet. There's little clouds of puffs of dust as he goes. It is absolutely beautiful. Now, pretty tall. His head will be about the height of the door, which I'll show you a little bit later. So he kind of stands at the same height as the top part of the vehicle, the sort of dashboard area. That's where the top of his mane will be, but he's not as big as the car, that's for sure. And he's also, in terms of his length, nowhere near as long as what this vehicle is. He's probably from the tip of the vehicle to where I'm sitting, that would be about his length. Hopefully when he comes down the road now, I'll try and park again and we'll get him to walk by and we'll kind of pull out a little bit so that you can see. Look, he's scenting the air. You see how he's sniffing? And the good news is he's sniffing to the south, which is fantastic. It means maybe he's going to go that direction. But we'll try and see him kind of coming past, and then you can get a better idea of just how large he is in comparison to the vehicle. Okay, but don't go that way now. That's the wrong way. Oh, that is beautiful. can see my reversing skills need work. It's a bit of a wiggly track that's coming down the road at the moment. So whoever drives here next is going to think somebody that had had far too much to drink drove here, because it's a very windy track that is coming down. But it is the way when you are reversing and kind of trying to keep an eye on a lion as well as Ferg's sort of camera so that I can help him a little bit, as well as trying to reverse behind me and not crash into anything that might be from the back end. So it's not the easiest thing to reverse with the male lion, but we're managing so far. I think it's going quite well. But this is so cool. It's been a long time since I've spent time with these guys. Ginger, you're wondering, has any of the male lions ever sprayed me? So Ginger, no, I've never been sprayed by a male lion. I've been close. I had one that sprayed on the side of my car, but luckily it didn't quite make it all the way to where I was. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do this little walk by for all of you guys, so you guys can see what it's like to be very close to a male lion. He's going to be a little smaller because I'm lower down, higher up now. So you can see he's coming, and you can see now that if you look where my shoulder height is, as he comes past, the top of his mane would be about my shoulder height. So it's difficult in this sort of perception, but and I'm raised on top of the road, so he is massive. He is not a small cat at all. He is very, very big, and hopefully he's going to let out a roar at some point. So you can see that he is not the smallest. Now what I'll do a little bit later is I'll show you a little kind of size comparison between him and us once we kind of settle down, or if he crosses north or whatever the case may be. If we're not with him anymore, then I can show you really how nicely or what sort of size he is, because I had a sighting with the Birminghams the other day. Well, it's not the other day, it was quite a while ago, but I had a sighting with them, and one of them sniffed the antenna at the back. There we go. You see he's going north now, so that was our last shot. He's probably going to go lie at Tamboti Dam, which is right here. I was hoping he was going to go the other way and not this way, but unfortunately it seems as though he's going to go northwards. No, coming back to the road. Good boy. He's obviously heard my wishes and is now going to come back this side. Let's see where he goes from here. It would be so nice if he turns to the left and goes down towards our dam and towards the dam in front of the lodge and spends the day in that area, and we get him again this evening, because it really is something when they let out these big belting roars. If you're close by, it is the best sound in the world, and I'm hoping that he's going to do it again this morning and that we will hear this big booming roar. Michael, you say we've spent countless hours with the Birmingham boys, but every time you see them you're blown away. Well, Michael, I think we have spent a lot of time with them, but not recently. If we're honest, it's been few and far between the sightings of these Birminghams lately. It's been tough to kind of find them, and they've been on their own little kind of expeditions to all parts of the sort of reserve, and so we haven't really had much time with them over the past few months. I certainly don't think we've had very much time with them, and I haven't spent that long with any of them really, and so they are impressive. I think the fact that we're not seeing them as often means that we just kind of are that much more impressed by their looks and what they kind of look like. Now at some point I do need to tell everybody else that we did find a male lion, so I will have to radio that in just now. So I do apologize about that. Yeah, Rex, if you can copy me, I've got this male lion. He's mobile west on the Buffelshoek boundary. He's just south of Tamboti Dam now, still mobile west. Now we'll hopefully be able to hear the game drive radio, because my game drive has been giving me a bit of trouble over the last few days. It's got a little connection issue, so I have to wiggle the connection to be able to hear them. There we go, but a scent marking, so maybe this will be a roar that we will get shortly. Let's try and get our shadow out of that. There we go, he's just shaking his head as he goes. How cool is this? Come on, boy, up the hill. He's got a nice hill to climb now. Now, interestingly enough, this is very cool because I've just heard on the radio now that it sounds like a nice herd of buffalo are at Sydney's Dam, and the way that he's going is straight towards Sydney's Dam. So maybe that's where he's going and why he's going this way. Maybe he's heard the buffalo and he knows the buffalo are around and he's going to head up that side. It's a long way still to go, but he is heading in that direction, and maybe we're in for an epic morning if the Birminghams do pick up on that there are some buffalo around, or particularly this individual. And who knows, maybe there's another one that isn't far away, or the Nkahuma Pride, or something like that. So it's worth us trying to kind of just stay with him, try and keep up with him and see where he goes. He is ambling in the right direction, and these guys have such incredible sense that maybe he's heard or smelt this lion, this buffalo herd from a long way away, and he's now heading in that direction to go and start hunting them. At the end of the day, he's not actually very full at all, and so I'm pretty sure he will be able to try and go and hunt. Now, while we follow him and see where he is going to go and whether he leads us towards that buffalo herd, let's go back across to Scotty and see how he's progressing with that leopard tracking.
Well done, Tristan. And Murphy's Law, as soon as you come to us now, that male lion's going to start roaring, so be ready to be rushed back to Tristan. I'm feeling you guys are going to get lucky. Now, we've moved out of the general area where Tristan did have some leopard tracks earlier on before he headed off to that male lion, and no major sign of him, but what I'm thinking is rather to move into another area where no other vehicles have checked this morning, and we'll leave the other vehicles that are moving through that general area to continue kind of hopefully looking for that leopard. And we're now on the southern boundary. I'm not too sure what's going on with that male lion or what he's heading to. I also got very excited when I heard the radio call come through. But I heard there was a herd of buffalo and then that there was already a buffalo kill. Maybe there's both. So I think the lions may have already made a kill. I think there's already one male lion there, possibly two. Anyway, you guys have got an interesting scene to look forward to, whatever it's going to be. And we'll see shortly exactly what's happening. It can be tricky to chat with you guys, answer your questions, and listen to the radio simultaneously. So maybe that's why Tristan's a bit confused. Hello to Nikki and Penny Pine. Two of you are wondering the same things, whether I would prefer Tundi's young cub to be a male or a female. And I would prefer her to be a female. And the reason being is that females tend to stick around close to their mom's territory and not disappear like young males do. And like I was saying earlier, with what we do, getting to know individual characters is a very important part of what we do. It's not just showing people a leopard, it's trying to follow the lives of specific leopards. And it's been very difficult for us to follow the lives of, for example, Quarantine and Kunyuma, because those are two boys that have moved further afield. Not too far, to be honest, at least in Quarantine's case, but I would prefer a female. Now, I just saw some strange tracks crossing the road here, so I thought I'd stop to make sure they weren't of a leopard, and they certainly are not of a leopard. They are of another very rare and elusive animal. Here's one. Here's another one. You can see three long finger-like things. My audio off. Maybe when I was bending over it went a bit funny. Better now? Still gone? No audio?
It's gone now. There's something called.
Huh.
Yeah?
Good. Okay, so these are aardvark tracks. The long toes and claws of which you can see over here. And aardvarks are the nocturnal pig-like ant-eaters and termite eaters that we don't really see in this area, but that live here. We see their tracks fairly often, but we don't see them. Alrighty. So yeah, I think I would prefer to have a leopardess as opposed to a young prince. We've also had quite a few young princes. I think we've had more princes than queens. So it'd be nice to kind of balance things out a little bit. Hello, Misha, you'd like to know, excuse me, at what age will young leopards leave their mothers? And it's usually not that they leave their mothers. I guess it's important to say that their mothers kind of forcibly chase them off. The young leopards will get quite comfortable and enjoy a life of luxury. The textbooks say between 18 months and 24 months would be your average kind of age when a leopardess will start pushing her cubs away. She'll usually kind of tolerate them within her territory, but she's not going to be assisting them in any way, and kind of they'll often try and follow her and sneak kills from her. I just smelt the cooked buttered popcorn smell of a leopard scent mark. It's the most wonderful smell. But I haven't seen any tracks, which surprises me. Let me go back and see if I can't get another whiff of that wonderful scent. So anywhere between 18 months and 24 months, but some strange things do happen. Sometimes leopards will be kicked out a little bit younger than that, and sometimes in the case of Hosanna and Shongile, they lost their mother when they were a year old, and had to fend for themselves. So it's proven that they can certainly survive even as young as a year old, being left alone to fend for themselves. Ah, very interesting. Well, another radio update has just come through. We're getting more clarity on the matter, but why don't you go and ask Tristan exactly what's happening over there with the lions and something else as well.
Well, look, you can see the buffalo are all here. They're all alert. They've just chased a Birmingham over the road. So the Birminghams are right here. They're not far away. But when they chased one over the road, another Birmingham popped up and chased a leopard off a kill, and the leopard ran away. And so they've now got an impala kill on our left. They've killed a buffalo apparently just to the north of Sydney's Dam as well. And then now there's another two Birminghams closing in. So all four seem to be here. There's a leopard in amongst this as well. Where the leopard's gone, I don't know. The leopard just got chased quickly, and we're trying to see if we can find it again. And obviously the lions are around, and the buffalo are very aware that there are lions about. So we're going to just try and see. You can see the buffalo kind of moving forward, noses to the air. There's Tinyo has just gone past us and gone into the thicket on my left hand side. So I want to try and just get in there and follow him as he tries to get towards the others. Now Nhenha is coming from the top right. He's quite far behind us still, and we left him there going into the bush and trying to come round to this side. So I think he might arrive here fairly shortly. And if they've got a buffalo kill already and they've stolen now an impala from a leopard, I'm not sure how long they're going to be in this area or how much they want to hunt these buffalo. I don't think very much at all, given that Tinyo is just walking away in this direction. Now the problem is that we have a lot of gremlins here, so that's going to make life very difficult, and we're going to have a few issues if they go down into the drainage, which I think is where Tinyo is gone. And last time I saw him was somewhere in this direction, moving in towards the drainage line. So let's just have a little quick look. But it's all happening. There they are. So there you can see one of them in front, or two of them I think are in front. So that's where the leopard was, and that's where they chased the leopard, and they chased it kind of north or southward, should I say. And so that's why if Scotty can check on my southern side, maybe he'll be lucky and find that leopard on that side. I have no idea which leopard it is, but the Birminghams are here, buffalo are here, leopard is here, and so it's going to be an insane morning as things go out. We know the Birminghams have a kind of buffalo sort of knack, and they're able to grab buffalo at will almost. And so I wonder if they're going to try and head in that direction. So there you can see it looks like Tinyo that is coming towards us now. I'm not sure who the other one is that's with him. It could be Mfumo. I don't know. All I can see is the back of him at this stage, but the mane looks quite light, so I would imagine that it is Mfumo in that area. Now Tinyo is coming back up towards the buffalo. I wonder if he's going to potentially start hunting them again. And if Nhenha arrives, that's definitely going to go into a whole different thing. I think if Nhenha's here, we might find a situation that they might start hunting again. You can see he's lying down now, so let's just see how this goes. I'm hesitant to go forward because I'm a bit worried about gremlins, but let's try just so we can see if we can get a better view and try and see what's going on. So bear with us if there's a bit of picture breakup or sound breakup. I do apologize, but let's have a look and see what's going on here. I'm going to try and stay as high as I can because at the end of the day we don't want to lose signal, and I know down in the dip itself is going to be very difficult. So let's try from here, hopefully still have some semblance of reception. So Tinyo on the right for sure. It looks like Mfumo that is coming out. Is it Mfumo or is it Nsuku? Difficult to say. No, it's Nsuku that's there. So Nsuku down at the bottom, Tinyo here. I think Mfumo must be on the buffalo kill still, and Nhenha still coming. So this is very, very cool, and just goes to show that sometimes it's worth kind of following up on your sort of audio that you get, because I wasn't 100% sure that they were even inside Vuyatela, but as you can see, they're all here, and this sort of chase of this leopard has now meant that they've managed to find not only a small meal, but they've also kind of got a situation where everybody's banding together now, and maybe that's why they were roaring, is because it heard the others were on a kill and it's now roared to try and attract everybody. But this is going to be super cool. The buffalo are not far. They're still right here. They're kind of looking into this thicket and checking things out, and like I say, when Nhenha arrives, maybe the three of them together is going to cause a massive sort of grouping together, and we know the Birminghams are not shy of taking advantage of buffalo, and they might even hunt again, which would be really epic. So we just need to sit tight and hope for the best. So Matt, yes, the other male is walking to find his coalition, so he's trying to see and establish where they are. I'm pretty sure he's heard them either vocalize or he's heard the sort of dying of that buffalo, and he's now kind of coming into this area to try and join the others for food reasons. But when he gets here and they see a massive herd of buffalo, and you find that they then group together and there's three of them, you might just see them hunt again. And the reason why is because they're opportunistic animals. Any chance they can get to hunt, they will take, and they will try and go after that prey item. And buffalo have been a scarce commodity over the last little bit, and so I wouldn't be surprised these guys maybe try their luck once more. Chitwa, you're wondering how close a lion would get to me. Well, we had Nhenha just now, and he walked, I would say, not even a meter from the front of our car and around the side of me and past me, and so it's possible that you find that he would be even closer than that. I've had male lions lie right up against the side of the car where their manes are almost touching the tire just for shade sometimes. So it just depends. It's obviously different on every situation, but these guys know that we're not a threat in any way, and so generally they're actually quite good with us, and they will come quite close, and as long as you don't move too much and don't sort of startle them, then you can get some really close views of them. Of course, with that, we don't drive right up to these male lions and make them kind of pressurize them that they're that close. It's only if they choose to. So like with Nhenha, we kind of just reverse down the road and then we park off the side, and if he wants to come past, he will. Otherwise he'll take a wider berth and go into the bush a little bit. But you find if you just kind of park off and they're walking, then generally they don't mind us and they'll just come right past at a very, very close proximity. But you can see he's now lying down there. I'm pretty sure that this leopard was right by the tree, and it's a pity the leopard couldn't get up into the tree with that kill and take it up to the top. That would have been ideal. Bobby, I have absolutely no idea what these lions' manes feel like, because if you want to put your hand through that mane, you probably will be the last that you ever do, and have a situation where you're no longer with us. So In these males, I don't know. In terms of male lions, I've never touched a male lion's mane that is fully grown. I've had young males that have been treated for TB and touched their manes, and it's quite wiry actually. It's not a very fine fur. It's not like a domestic cat that has soft fur. Because of the nature of what they do. I mean, they're not getting bathed and brushed and cared for. You know, they've got dust and they've got blood and they've got all kinds of things that builds up inside their manes, and so you get a situation where nice and sort of straight like you would get on a domestic cat. So, I mean, I imagine the big boys are with my once again, which is to be expected where we're sitting. I didn't think we'd even get reception where we are, so I'm very surprised that we have got. There is a little mound that is just in front of me that might get us a little higher, so I might go towards that mound. The problem is that we probably will lose reception if I go forward any further, and the problem is to get to that mound I need to go forward and around a little bit, but it would probably give us a better view of Tinyo, and hopefully we'd have a situation where we would be able to be a little higher, which should give us a better signal story. So let's try it. I mean, it's risky business, but we're all about risk and business. So let's try out luck and see what we get. We're all business, exactly. So let's see. Hopefully this works, and hopefully we don't lose all of you. But there's a little bump that I want to get into, which is right here. So this is where I wanted to go, because this is going to get my little antenna a bit higher. There we go. How's that? There we go. So my antenna is now a lot higher, which should mean that my audio and my signal should be better, which is good news. But you can see these boys are full, and it's a pity that they are full, because if we had got here now and they weren't full, we would have had a situation where I promise you there would have been absolute chaos with these buffalo. But we can't rule it out. Like I say, Nhenha hasn't eaten and he's almost on the scene now, and so he might just cause these buffalo to stampede and come down towards us again, and we could see a situation where these lions do hunt. But for now, everybody's resting. Tinyo is trying to deal with the amount of buffalo he's already got inside of his stomach, and hopefully he will be alright. He looks as though he's kind of eaten way too much, and you can see he's breathing very quickly as well. But how impressive are these Birminghams looking? And I honestly think this is the first time I've seen Nsuku on this side of the world since I've been with Djuma and with Safari Live. Lucy, you're wondering if Nsuku is breathing hard because he chased a leopard. Well, this line we're looking at now is Tinyo. So Tinyo is panting like that, not because he chased a leopard, but because his stomach is so distended that it's pushing up on his lungs and is reducing the capacity within his lungs in terms of the amount of air that he can get. Also, digesting protein builds up a massive amount of heat, and therefore he's got a situation where he's trying to cool his body down. But I'm not sure if the leopard is just to our left here, because I see the guys have just gone down to my left and they're looking at something. So maybe just straight down the drainage line could be where the leopard is. You can see the vehicle in amongst that bush over there. So I'm going to try and see if we can reposition and if there is a leopard there and get an update. But potentially there's something going on over that side as well. Now it could be the other male lion that we know that Mfumo is also missing, so he could be down there. But I'll have a little shout with Rexon and just find out if maybe it is there. Either way, exciting stuff, lots happening. So while we kind of see how this all plays out and see where the Nhenha arrives and the buffalo get another assault from the lions, let's go back across to Scotty D and see what his plans are at the moment.
Well, it certainly is exciting stuff there with Tristan. Buffalo, lions, leopards, all in one area. And now we've got the fourth member of the big five, a big elephant bull. Hello, boy. And he's only a few meters away from us. Ginormous. How cool was that? And he's just taking it nice and slow this morning, as I would be if I was a big elephant bull. Now, I hope Tristan does get lucky in finding a view of this leopard that's in that sighting with you. I've been listening on the radio, and it sounds like it could be a skittish male called Gijima, so it is going to be tricky for him to get some good views of the leopard, but who knows, maybe he will get lucky, and who knows, maybe, just maybe, those Birmingham lions will even try and catch a buffalo despite having already snacked on that leopard's impala. Now, I have heard a report that there could well be some wild dogs in the area around Chitwa waterhole, so I'm thinking of heading there and seeing what's going on. So, who knows, if they're not there, hopefully Hosanna, a young male leopard. I'm really hoping on spending some time with leopard. I haven't had much luck since I've been back in the vehicle and no longer on foot. So I'm hoping of rectifying that and making most of my time in the Sabi sands while I'm here. But so far I haven't been hugely fortunate. But that can all change. Cool, let's head on to the Chitwa waterhole and see what's going on there. I'm going to have to do a little bit of chatting on the radio to get some updates as to what is going on there. It's a different channel to the one we operate on Djuma, so I've got no idea exactly what's been going on. And you guys will be glad to know that you're no longer stuck with just Tristan and myself here in the Sabi sands of South Africa. You are about to be instantly teleported all the way up to the Maasai Mara. Ordinarily it would take you about 5 hours of flying to get there, but you'll be there.
Down in South Africa, and we hope that we can give you just as much excitement up here in Kenya. Shame I surprised this hippo as I came through onto the bridge here. We've actually spotted what is potentially a group of friends, and we're on our way there. My name is Ralph Kirsten, and on the camera we've got my right hand man Archie, and please join us on the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter and on the YouTube live chat. Now, I've just been driving around a little bit, trying to get my bearings, trying to see what has been going on. Yesterday we had a lot of lions, but for the time being, lovely to start with a hippo that's just out of the water. And what is the bush going to hold for us today? That is the question. It's always lovely to find out what has been going on during the night, and this hippo obviously been wallowing a little bit. Maybe, it looked like he was actually half asleep there as he breathes out a little bit. Lovely view in the morning. I'm not going to stay here too long. I think he does want to go back to sleep. Right, so I'm going to try and see what all the vehicles, what all the fuss was about. But while I do that, let's send you down south to South Africa with Tristan, who I think has found a spotted cat for you.
Well, as you can see, there goes a leopard slinking off. We're going to try and keep up. Now, we had a really good view of him, but unfortunately with Mara, get back to us. So it looks like Gijima. I'm not 100% sure. The guys say it is him, but we're just trying to get into a situation where we can see him, and we're trying to keep our distance a little bit because he's obviously not the most relaxed leopard. I'm wondering though if it's not that new male that could be potentially here as well. So just trying to sneak through. The male lions of ow, that hurt. Branch just now, little bit of breakup. I apologize. It might get worse, it might not, but this is exciting stuff. It could be my first time to see this leopard, so I've never seen Gijima or this new male I've seen, but I don't know whether it's him or Gijima. But there he is, look, straight through there we go, look at that, he's going across. So I'm not sure who it is. So those guys that can do spot patterns on bums and those kind of things, maybe you can help us out. He is just slowly moving off. I'm going to try and see if I can get to where he is. He's a little bit on the nervous side, so we need to keep our distance just a bit. He's not kind of running, which is great news, but he's not exactly kind of that happy we're around. Now so if we can just try and get ourselves into get a spot here. Can you see anything there, Ferg? 2 o'clock. Okay, so he's still going this direction, just trying to kind of skirt around him a little bit, but this is so exciting. How's this? Lions, buffalo, leopard, it's all happening at this stage, and he's kind of going southwards a little bit where it's going to open up a bit, so that's good for us because the less we can crash around, the better. There he is there. You can just see him through there, Ferg. There we go. So he's got his face facing us at the moment. Oh, he's just gone around. So now we're going to try and just get through here and see. He's not exactly that happy that there's this many vehicles, I don't think. So there's 3 of us, and we might have to go into a situation where we go down to maybe 2, but he is just moving straight through here. So if I just stop somewhere close by in front, we should get a good view of him coming out onto the road. He's actually on the road, I think. Yes, there's the road there. So let's just see, maybe we get lucky and we can spot him on the road itself. Ferg, can you see him? So let's try and see here. I can't see where he's gone. Now he's disappeared on me. So it seems as though he's somewhere here. I'm just trying to kind of scan where he is. So the radio's going crazy, so it's not helping. There he is, there. He's straight in front of us, Ferg. He's just lying down straight in front over the top. So there we go. It's not a great view just yet, but maybe if we just sit still for a bit, he might kind of come out a little bit. I don't know if we can ID him from that. It's obviously a difficult view, but very cool to see. Unfortunately, he's just moving off a little bit, but he is coming towards the road. So if we're patient, maybe he's just going to pop across and we'll be able to get a better view. I think he is whichever leopard, a very skittish leopard. Can you still see him there, Ferg? Let's try and just kind of negotiate. He's going across the road now, which is good news. So he's going up and around, and he seems as though he's more kind of concerned with another sort of animal than us. So let's just try and sneak in. Matt, you're wondering how far we are from the lions? Not far at all. I would say we're about 200 meters from the lions. Here he is. He's just going to come out into a nice open clearing, which is great news for us. So I want to just prep and turn off here so we can get a really good view of whichever leopard this is. Now he's turned around and he's going back into the thicket. He really is being difficult. Now this is how sort of leopards can be sometimes when they are a little bit more on the wild side, and so you do sometimes get this situation. I thought he was going to come out for us because it was nice and open here, and I thought we were going to get a really cool kind of look at him, but he's decided to go back towards where the lions are. So you can see him just moving through the thicket there. He's going the opposite direction, and it's probably due to the fact that there's there's too many vehicles that are for his comfort. It seems like he's a 1-vehicle leopard, not a 2-vehicle leopard. So when we talk about that, what we mean is that some leopards are comfortable with 1 car and they kind of will handle it. Some leopards are not really comfortable when you get more than 1 car. So there's going to be a car that's going to pass through fairly shortly. There we go. So I think Rex is going to leave us to it and go back towards the lions. Now I'm going to try and see if we get some sort of a view. I think if we're just patient here, we'll be lucky and we might get a better sort of face shot of this individual, and then we can work out who it is. But how exciting! It's definitely not a leopard that I know, so it's a new leopard for me in terms of the length of the sighting. Whether or not it is a new leopard remains to be seen. I just need to find out from Rex how he's going there. Rex, is he still mobile? So Rex says he is coming this way. If I just stand by where I am, I should be able to see him. So let's just stop here and we'll maybe get lucky. Okay, let's see now. He says that it's just here on our right hand side. It's nice and kind of openish here, so maybe we'll be lucky. Now he's waving me to come that side, but I don't want to go in too much of a rush because I want a situation where we can at least still see him. Now these are important things to do because these kind of things are not bad things, because even though this leopard is a bit unrelaxed, having lions and a kill nearby and the vehicles around means that he starts to get a little bit more kind of, you know, he can't really go as far as he wants to go, and so he ends up being around the cars and actually gets used to the cars somewhat. I know it sounds weird and it sounds like it's not the right thing, but he actually is getting kind of more exposure to the cars because of the lions that are around. Now apparently he's going towards the road, so if we just sit here and sit tight on the road itself, maybe he's going to cross in front of us. Let's see. I don't know where he's gone, but I hear Rex coming out, so apparently he's somewhere in this vicinity. Still coming our way, which is good news. So there he is. He's just trotting across the road, so we're going to try and just catch up with him a little bit. He's kind of gone over the road and he's just trotting a little bit, so he's kind of moving away from where we are. Let's try and just get a little bit further forward and see if we can get a view of him. There he goes. So he's just moving away from us. You can just see him going through the bush. Sorry, Ferg. I know there's a lot happening, but that is a leopard that doesn't really want us to be around. Anna Marie, you say it's always fun because we always find the cats. Well, I mean, it's just luck today. At the end of the day, we got lucky. We managed to kind of come into a spot and the lions found a leopard for us, and you know, we kind of just drew a good card, and sometimes luck is on your side. I've had a week where not everything has gone according to plan, and so, you know, it's good when things do start falling into place and you get epic sightings like this. So I'm just trying to get around. There he goes. Kyle, you say it looks like Gijima. Well, he's just here in front, and he is living up to his name. For those of you that don't know what Gijima means, it means to run, basically. And so he is running from us all the time, and he's kind of going through this little thicket here. So what I want to try and do is just get in here and just try and see. The last time I saw him was just moving through this little thicker area. He's kind of, you just see him just sort of ghosting through. Now he's just in front of me here. I know it's difficult, and I know it's a lot of me talking and a lot of driving and very little spots, but he just ran here. I just saw him running in this direction. So he's gone into this thicket. I think we're probably going to have to leave him at some point, because to spot him in here is going to be very difficult, and that's why he's gone in here. He knows that it's much denser and much thicker. There he is, he's in front of us, so we've still got view of him, and it's just us now, so hopefully he is going to start relaxing a little bit. Mac and Riza, you're wondering if Gijima has ever been seen on drive before. So yes, Brent has seen him before. I'm not sure about Scott, and I think Jamie might have seen him before as well. So, but Brent mostly. That's the one, you know, Brent spent a lot of time with him, found him on a kill once, and really tried to relax him a little bit. So Brent is the one that's, you know, sees him and really likes this leopard. So Brent is going to be very happy that this leopard has been seen. He absolutely loves Gijima. Now I'm just trying to work out where he went. The last time I saw him was just trotting here in front. Ferg, you see anything? Straight ahead, huh? There he is. He's just straight ahead of us. He's quite far in the distance. There he is. You've got him. There you go, Ferg. Just in that little bush over there. So it's, don't worry. We'll try and catch up a little bit with him. He's just straight in front of us. So he's just ambling now. If we keep our distance... Oh, and we've got a big branch stuck now, which is not ideal. Let's try and get rid of that. There he is. He's just in front. We're going to try and see if I can just get one more view of him. I don't really want to kind of stress him out too much, but it'll be nice to just see his face a little bit. Emma, you're asking if it makes me nervous that this leopard is so skittish. No, not at all. His primary goal is to get away from me and to try and sort of lose the vehicles. And the reason why he's doing that is because he's a shy animal and he hasn't had exposure to the cars from a young age. And that's why he's a little bit sort of nervous and a bit shy and doesn't really like to be followed that much. The thing is, though, is that you won't believe it, but Tingana, this is how Tingana started. The first, I would say, 4 or 5 times I saw Tingana, this is exactly the same behavior that I witnessed from him. This is how he moved around, which you guys wouldn't believe if you look at Tingana now and the way he just sits and stares at us. And the reason why Tingana became more relaxed is because we did this, is because we sort of followed him, tried to kind of keep him in our sights as much as possible, tried to sort of work out where he's comfortable, and then as he mated with females, as he had kills, spent more and more time, and eventually he became this relaxed individual that you see today. So there is hope for this leopard, and it doesn't make me nervous. It's now just an exciting kind of prospect that we can maybe try and habituate another leopard in this area. So, James, you say you don't think it's Gijima? Maybe it's this new male that's been moving around. It would make sense if it is. Like I was saying just now, I'm just going on what the guys told me on the radio. I mean, I don't know Gijima at all, and this new male, we've seen so little of him that it's difficult to say, you know, what he looks like, and especially from the glimpses we're getting as we're going along here. So, it could be that new male for sure, and it could be a situation where he is around. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest that it is that new male. So it's either way interesting. Right, now I'm going to try and find him again in this. I don't know if we're going to. It might be a tough one, but let's try. And while we do that, let's go to Scotty and see what he's got and what he's been up to over the last little bit.
Well, good luck, Tristan. And we've just stumbled upon some leopard poop. There's also squirrels alarm calling to our left. To our right, rather. You can see the fresh leopard poop in front of the vehicle there. No, I'm not sure how fresh exactly it is. I'm just gonna hop out quickly. Oof, I'm wondering if this squirrel can't see the leopard. There's a bit of a game trail that it may have taken in that direction. It's very thick, so it's going to be difficult to drive a vehicle in there. No, that's not very fresh. Although I can see the tracks heading this way. Sometimes with leopard poop and lion poop, it can be quite dry. It's not to say it's not fresh. It's not always very wet. And I guess just like lions and leopards and us, our poop varies in consistency from day to day. I just want to have a little look behind us here just to get a better idea if the poop isn't fairly fresh. Oh yeah, these look like these tracks are decent. Let me see if they don't cross over the road here. Apologies to leave you stranded for a moment as soon as you jump back on board with me. But I'm desperately trying to find a leopard. Tristan's done very well this morning. Lion and leopard. And I hope he gets you another glimpse of old Gijima. Now I'm guessing the fact that it's a female leopard track in this area, it will be from Thandi, who is a leopardess that we are hoping to find sooner rather than later with a little cub. So I'm actually on my way back to the den site now, or at least the last confirmed den site where we saw her. With a little bit of luck, she'll be there. Alrighty then. So I'm going to be at the den site in about 2 or 3 minutes, and while I continue to make my way there for the second time this morning, we will sending you back up to the Mara with Ralph.
Yes, thanks, Scott. We're moving off up into the northeastern section of the Mara Triangle, and look at this. We've just spotted out up in the plains some jackals. Looks like a little bit of a family unit, this, because generally jackal are monogamous, so that would be a monogamous territorial pair, and then maybe some of their siblings. They look all similar age, so nice to watch a little bit of interaction with jackals. And please don't forget to send us your questions and your comments. We'd love for you to be interactive with us. This morning I'm going to be heading across the Mara River just to have a look on the other side. I have really been exploring the reserve so far, and yesterday we came across a number of lions. So hopefully we can keep up that trend today, and we had quite a bit of excitement yesterday, and we'll see what the bush holds for us this morning. There we've got some other animals moving off in the distance, but always lovely to watch the smaller carnivores as well. These black-backed jackals looking in good condition. We see trotting about looking for Now, while we're watching these jackals, Chitty Chatty Meg, you're wondering if male lions always stay together. Well, that always depends on the dynamics to do with the pride. It depends. If there are a couple of males that are born within a pride, they might stay together once they're kicked out, and they can split up. It depends on if the characters within that group, they're going to have to submit to one of them. So one of them will have to be a dominant figure within the group, and the rest will eventually have to submit. But generally that coalition remains together because that unit gets built around the time that they don't have a pride or a territory. That's when they need to work together to survive, firstly, to catch food, to evade dominant males, and then eventually to take over a pride or territory of their own. So they will stay together within that coalition generally, and the stronger the coalition, the better it is for them, and the easier it will be for them to take over a territory. Right, we're going to move on, and we're going to carry on down the road. We're heading now down towards the Mara River, which you will see as the very thick dark green line down in the distance. Now, Anna Marie, you're wondering if jackals live longer than wild dogs. Anna Marie, generally the little carnivores, the little animals, they do tend to live reasonably shorter lives than the bigger animals because of their very fast heart rate. But what I am going to do is I just grab my little list here, and I'll actually see the exact longevity between wild dogs and jackals while we drive along. So the lions, we're talking about 10 to 14 years, and that would be males, and the females would go quite a lot longer. We've got servals, wild cats. Where is my jackals? Servals live quite long. They live up to about 17 years. The black-footed cats also about 13 years. Right, there we go. African wild dogs is about 12 years. And the black-backed jackal about 10 years. So there we go. They actually live just about 2 to 3 years less than wild dogs. So to answer your question there, so it's a reasonable life, 10, 12 years for such a small little animals. It's not a a bad length. And if you think your sort of smaller dogs as well, your long-legged Jack Russells and animals like that, obviously that's more in captivity, so they're living a lovely luxurious looked after life. A good age for a long-legged Jack Russell would be about 15 years, and 10 years in the wild, a little bit of a harder life for these animals. That's not a bad length of life. And we've got lots of taupi here and gazelle all around the plains. We've seen a few warthogs. That was what fell prey to the lion yesterday. Ooh, hello. And we've got a little sleeping beauty here, just off to our right. I wonder why it hasn't gone down into the den. But hyena, they do like to do things differently. Maybe just catching a snooze on its way back to the den. Maybe there is no den. Hyenas move massive distances sometimes during the evening or darkness hours. Let's have a look there. It looks like, is it something wrong with its eye, or has it got a different color? It does look like there might be something wrong with it. It almost looks blue, but that might be tending towards being white. Maybe it's got a cataract. I'm not sure. But it does seem to be a little bit unusual in the eye. And it would be a very good characteristic to identify this animal, but that did look blue. I wonder if it is a pigment mutation or difference, or if it is something like a cataract or a problem. Look at that. I do think that it might be a bit of a problem, but it doesn't seem like it's affecting it physiologically. I just wonder if it's still got full vision there. Would be interesting to know, but we'd have to get him to do an eye test for us and tell us what he sees in that eye. Otherwise, we'd have to have a vet to tell us. But it seems perfectly healthy, so whether or not that one eye is working at 100% or not doesn't seem to be affecting it. A lovely fluffy scratchy morning feeling. Probably been prowling around through the darkness hours, and looks like a female, the size of it. Off she walks. Hyenas are fascinating creatures, I find. We have often lovely chats around the table, and it seems that for us it's been the two most amazing or interesting species to talk about around the table. Yes, we love to talk about the predators and the kills and the excitement, but the ones that are intriguing for us, and for me in particular, are the baboons and hyenas, because they are such characters in themselves, and they really have strange behavior. And strange, well, that's in the eye of the beholder, but they really do get up to some weird and wonderful antics. Now, as that hyena is disappearing off there through the grass, once more, let's head down the road and see what else we can find around the next corner. Matt, you're wondering why is the grass so short? In this particular area, we've got a lot of game that is hanging here, and they are obviously keeping this grass quite short. Now, I don't know if Archie can see, there's another hyena walking off not too far from here. And we can have a look at that as well. So we're in the area of the airstrip, which was where they obviously keep that quite short. But this area in general is well frequented by all the grazing animals, and they are keeping this grass really well mowed. And there's that other hyena moving off, and you can see that nice thick bushy tail. Also on the prowl. The end of a long night. Whoops, what is that? He still is a bit skittish as well. The hyenas do look out for themselves too. Lovely sight that. Yes, so as I was saying, we love to watch the hyenas and the baboons. So as we were watching that carnivore disappear off into the distance, I think we're going to carry on along the road, but in the meantime I'm going to send you over to Scott, who is, I think, having a look at the new den site.
Well, a blue-eyed hyena, what next? And I'm sure you guys are loving chopping and changing between the open vistas of the Mara and the more densely wooded thickets of the Sabi sands. We are looking towards a kind of bent-over tree, and underneath that tree is where we last had a visual of a female leopard and her young little cub. That was probably about 3 or 4 days ago, and we've had no luck when we've popped into this den site since then. Now, I'm beginning to wonder if Tundi, the leopardess, has possibly moved den sites again, and I'm kind of torn as to, do we just invest a lot of time sitting here to completely write off the fact that she's not sure, or do we keep searching for her elsewhere? So not an easy decision, but I think because she's not on site now, it would make sense for us to head off, and we can maybe stop here once more towards the end of the morning safari, and I think it would be more beneficial for us to continue searching. So that's an update on what our plans are, and you'll be glad to know that Tristan has made his way back to the Birmingham Lions. I wonder what they're up to.
Indeed I have. Unfortunately, that leopard gave us a slip. It just became a wall of trees in front of us, and we really struggled to try and find him from there. So what I've done is come back to the Birminghams, who you can see are now very sleepy and are lying right next to the carcass for this leopard. So this leopard's impala, not the leopard carcass. The leopard is fine, don't worry. But just in the grass there, you can see that there is an impala carcass, and so the lions are lying right next to it. They're greedy lions because they've just eaten a buffalo, and yet they're still now trying to steal an impala carcass. But what we're going to do is we're going to sit here because I have a feeling that this leopard might meander its way back into this area just to come and check if anything is left, and so it's a worthwhile thing just to sit and wait, and particularly because Tinyo seems to have gone back north, the buffalo have gone into Manyeleti, and so there's just this male around, so maybe this other leopard will come back and try and see what's going on. Wild Bill from Idaho, you're wondering if I think I could ever get stuck in a massive thicket. Well, I suppose it's possible to get stuck inside a massive thicket, although I don't think so. I mean, theoretically, if you got in there should be a way out of it. And I mean, sometimes it's a bit tight, and sometimes you get yourself into a bit of a sort of bind, and you've got to do 20,000 point turns to get out again. But if you got in, you should be able to get out in some way. Unless, of course, it's muddy and you get stuck. That's a different story. If you have mud and those kind of things and you end up being stuck in it, that's of course a completely different side of what's going on. So but normally you'll get yourself out. These thickets aren't too bad, and most of the trees that we go into are fairly soft and you can push them over. Lady Starfire, you're asking if I would follow a leopard like I just did with a vehicle full of guests. Most certainly. It would have been a situation where everyone would have had to strap on the helmet and cuddle up nice and tight in the middle of the vehicle, and off we go. So I most certainly have done it with guests before, and I probably would do it again if I had guests on our vehicle. Poor Ferg got slapped by the aerial.
Do not count as a guest.
You do count as a guest, Fergus. You do, and I'm sorry that I slapped you with the aerial on a branch. I do apologize, but no, in situations like that, you try your very best to kind of get to see the animal, and if people are in the vehicle, and obviously you can ask. That's the most important thing, is with any time you have guests, is just to ask them, are you guys happy to follow this leopard? If they say yes, then you just prepare them and tell them to brace for impact at any moment, and then normally people will absolutely love it because it's like a roller coaster ride with dangerous items that get slapped towards you at any second. Plus there's a thrill of a leopard walking through the bush and you get glimpses of it, so it's all quite exciting. And they're actually the worst ones, to be honest, with guests, and the kind of animal that is hardest on guests has to be wild dogs, particularly if Brent Leo Smith is driving. I would not want to be a guest on the back seat of a vehicle with Brent driving after wild dogs. I feel like that is a death sentence waiting to happen. I'm just joking, of course. Brent flies with these vehicles because he doesn't have to worry so much, but I'm sure with guests he'd be a lot more kind of circumspect. But like I say, it's part of the fun of it. You know, people really get into it. I've had a lot of guests that love the off-roading and really like to kind of get into the thickets and love seeing what these cars can do, as well as being able to then see the animals from doing that. So I suppose it's each to their own. And like I say, as long as you just have a situation where you are communicating what you're doing and telling people and asking if it's okay, then normally it's quite fine. But that is one very, very sleepy Birmingham lion. At the moment, he's probably a situation where he's full from a buffalo. He's found himself another little carcass, which in a way is disappointing. Now, I know you might find this odd, but I think it would have been really epic to have found this male leopard with this carcass here, and it would have given us a great opportunity to try and just work on this leopard and try and get him habituated with the carcass. So one vehicle at a time, just kind of keep coming in, use the spotlight at night, and I think we would have got some amazing sightings of him. I think he just seems to be okay with one vehicle. When it was just us starting to follow him, he stopped running and he was just kind of ambling along, and he wasn't too bad. So I think if we had come here and we had found him with this carcass, we would have had a situation where maybe, just maybe, we would have been able to spend a day or two with him and just kind of get him a little bit more relaxed. But anyway, that's hindsight, and then these things can't be helped, because no one can predict the 3 Birmingham males arriving out of nowhere and chasing them all off. So it's an interesting kind of dynamic, but it's just a shame, because I was hoping that leopard, particularly because we don't know who it is, and particularly because we're not 100% sure, would have stayed and we would have been able to get some nice views of it and try and actually see it. But at least a view of it is better than no view whatsoever, so at least we got a sneaky glimpse, and who's to say we would have even found it had we not had the lions chase him. The thing is, though, is that I actually, funny enough, was on my way here, so even if I hadn't found that Birmingham male to start with, my next port of call was to come and check around this fire break area, and it would have been interesting if we would have been able to see that leopard, because the fire break is very close. Actually, the road is not far away at all. It's maybe, I would say, 20 meters from where we're sitting, and so it would have been easy to have spotted the leopard. That's where we would have driven, and the leopard would have just been here, and I'm 100% certain that this kill would have been taken up the tree at some point. And there's a beautiful big marula tree, which I was hoping the leopard was going to get into when the Birminghams rushed in, because it could have grabbed that kill and maybe gone up in there, but alas, it dropped the kill and ran, which is probably for its own safety a much better idea, because we do know that the Birminghams are not males that won't climb. They do climb, and they can get up there, so probably for his own safety it was better that he left it. But it would have just been nice to have kind of seen him up in the tree and see him go about things. And I think this is the same tree that Mvula used for his porcupine, actually. Angela, you're wondering if a leopard would ever steal a kill from the lions. Well, none of the leopards I've ever watched have been brave enough, but there is a leopard, and there is a video somewhere, I can't remember, it's somewhere on the internet, I'm sure some of you might be able to find it, of a leopard called the Chilunga male. Now, the Chilunga male is a male leopard down in the southern part of the Sabi sands, around Kirkman's and that area. It lived on the Sand River, and he actually went in and tried to steal, and this is an amazing story, actually, because the Southern Pride was on a kill, and they were busy eating. I think it was a waterbuck, if I remember, or a kudu, one of the two of them. And they were in a little drainage line. And the lions were eating, and this leopard came along, saw the lions, and just watched them for a while. And then while the lions were feeding on the carcass, it's not like the lions had walked off and were lying down like this. The lions were feeding. This big male leopard just walked straight in and tried to get a sort of meal from this carcass. And as he walked in, of course, the lionesses did not take kindly to this, and they tried to fight with him, and they cornered him on the ground, and he then fought back with them, and he clawed and scraped his way to safety. How he got that right, I'm not quite sure, because the lionesses that were there were part of the Southern Pride, and one in particular, which is the floppy-eared lioness of the Southern Pride, she is quite something. She doesn't stand down for anyone, and this leopard was so feisty with all of these lionesses that they almost got kind of a shock. And maybe it was just his brazen nature that they kind of got him and grabbed him a little bit, and then him fighting back, they just left him alone, and he was able to actually sneak off and try and get out of the way. But he did actually take one bite of the carcass, which astounds me completely, and he was able to kind of, I suppose, scavenge from the lions, even though at the end of the day it didn't really work out that well for him. And surprisingly enough, he didn't actually die from that or any injuries or anything. He managed to survive, and subsequent to that became a lion cub killer. So he then started to kill lion cubs, and he managed, I think, to get 4 different cubs before he was actually eventually caught by one of the adult lionesses that was a mother of those cubs, and managed to then kill him himself. So quite a story that he's got, and quite a life he led, and that's the only leopard I know of that has been brazen enough to rush in while lions are feeding and try and get his own thing. So interesting behavior nonetheless, and it's amazing that and that's what you think about leopard, is you just never know with them. They can be completely different animals when they want to be, and they can be really very, very, very secretive and sneaky, and then other times they can be completely brazen. So that's the best part about them, is that they just don't read books, and they are completely unique in each individual. They don't read books, no, there's no books printed in leopard language, unfortunately, Fergus. Maybe you should get onto that. So Fergus giving me make an audiobook, yes. Well, would it be a series of grunts and growls, or would it be actual language, Fergus? Leopard language, okay. Fergus reckons leopard language, so a series of grunts, roars and saws. Now, Nikki's saying that she hopes that the vehicle in the background's guests can't hear the two of us and what we're on about. Well, they can hear us, and luckily for us, they are viewers that watch. So they are people that are very sort of, they watch Safari Live a lot, and so they are used to our antics and used to our nonsense that we speak half the time. So I think they're just smiling at the fact that we are talking about these things, but it is the way it is. Now, Lion seems to be completely out. I don't think he's going to move. Chris, you're asking where are the lioness? Well, the Nhenha pride, which is the pride that would dominate this particular area, we have no idea where they are at the moment. The last time they were seen was up in Manyeleti area. I had a track for a lioness yesterday going into Simbambili with what looks like the cubs, the 2 small cubs. So I don't know if she's on that side and the rest of the pride is north. Difficult to say, but you must remember that with lions, you don't have a situation where the male lions are always with the females. So it's a misconception that there is a pride of females with the male lion. That's not always the case. The Birmingham males tend to spend a lot of their time as coalition members on their own, and then they join with the females when there's a female in estrus, when there's a kill that they can then scavenge off, or if there's a situation where they bump into those lions during the night, then they often follow them around. So that's the only times they really are actually with the lionesses. The lionesses tend to do their own thing and move around on their own and do what they want, and so I'm not sure where the Nhenha pride is. The Talamati pride was also seen recently not far from Sydney's Dam. It was about, I think, 4 or 5 days ago. They were on a buffalo kill, maybe actually a bit longer, maybe 7 days ago. So they've been around. Nhenha pride has kind of been in and out from Simbambili and Manyeleti, Buffelshoek, that area. So they're around, and I'm sure the Birminghams know exactly where they are. It's just unfortunately it lies outside of our traverse, and that means that we can't obviously follow up on them and confirm where exactly they are at the moment. So interesting nonetheless, though. It's interesting how fluid the lion movement is and how territories have shifted and changed. And the Nhenha pride has gone from a sort of stable pride for us here on Djuma to an almost non-existent sort of sighting. Like I say, I can't even remember the last time I saw the Nhenhas. I don't really even know if I would recognize some of the sub-adults, because I'm sure they're much bigger than what they used to be. So it's an interesting thing how they've changed and moved. But the buffalo coming back and us seeing herds like we saw this morning starting to come back into this area is only going to bode really well for the lions for us here at Djuma. We're going to probably start seeing the lions a little more frequently as soon as we get more buffalo around. That's obviously the prey item that they like, and therefore we should get lucky and maybe we will have them around. Right. So, Proud Cat Mama and Cheryl, you're wondering when did this coalition form and how old are these lions? So, the coalition was formed in, well, I mean, they were litter mates, so they were born 6 years ago. So when was that? That's what, 2011. So they were born in 2011, 3 of them. One of them was born in 2010, as far as I understand it. So Nhenha, which is the lion that we saw first, as far as I understand, and this is not confirmed and it's what is theorized, he's a little older, so he's 7, I think, or it's in Suku, one of the 2 of them is 7 years old, and then the other 3 are around 6. And so they were born into the same pride, they grew up together, and then as they were starting to become sexually mature, they were chased out by the dominant males in that area, and that's when they then stuck together, and that's how the coalition formed. Originally there was 5 of them in this group, so the 5th one unfortunately died last year from a buffalo horn to the chest and lungs, from what the autopsy said, and unfortunately obviously didn't come right from that, and so it's now left the 4 of them. But I can't remember if it's in Suku or Nhenha. One of the 2 of them is the older one compared to the rest. The rest are slightly a year younger or just under a year younger than the older one, and I'm sure somebody can correct me as to which one it actually is. I know it's one of those 2. I think it's Nhenha, but I might be wrong. So that's basically the story of the Birminghams. They then came out of the Timbavati and down into the Sabi Sands in around 2014, I think was the first time that they were seen, or 2013 was the first time that they were here, late 2013, and then they obviously started to dominate from about 2015 is when they really started to become dominant in this area. Roxy Jazzy, you're asking, are there any of these male lions that have the dark black manes like that of the Lion King? Well, no, not really. So the lions here in this system, in the Kruger Park in the northern part of South Africa, don't typically get very black manes. We get kind of multicolored manes here, so there's a lot of darkness on them, as well as a lot of the blonde coloration that you see. Now, this particular male that we're looking at, he's called Nsuku, which means gold, and the reason he got that name is because his mane is a very blonde coloration. Some of his brothers or his coalition members, they are slightly darker, so Tinyo, which is one of the other males that was here, he's got a much darker, blacker mane than this. But normally our manes here are pretty multicolored. There is black, but there is a lot of blonde in them. The dark-maned male lions, so the very black-maned male lions, those are male lions that you'll see in the desert region. So in places like the Kalahari Desert, Etosha in Namibia, even a little bit to some degree in Botswana, in Naipans and Bukharachadi, those areas you find that the lions tend to get much darker, blacker manes than what we see here. Up in East Africa, where Ralph is, some of those lions do have dark manes, but they tend to be pretty similar to ours here in that they've also got flushes of blonde. But there is a couple male lions on that side that do have those big black manes. But obviously in Disney they've made it a little bit more kind of, I don't know what the word is for it, but a bit more sort of spruced up and darker than what you would actually ever see on a lion in real life. There's no male lions that have complete black manes. All of them will have some little bit of blonde, and the black is not jet black all the time. There we go. So Philip, thank you very much. You say Nsuku is 7 years old, so it was one of the 2. I always get them confused, but it's this male lion here is the older of the coalition, so he's 7 and the rest are all 6 around us. Now, I do see another male lion which I hadn't noticed for quite some time, who's just here on my left-hand side. I've just seen a paw flick up. I don't think we'll get any view with the camera, but it's just kind of a weird moment. I've been sitting here talking to you guys and didn't even notice that there was this leg that just popped up next to me on my left side. But like I said, I don't think Ferg will be able to see it. It's right behind a whole bunch of thickets and wattles and all kinds of other things, and I've got a small little gap from that area. Right, well, I think our lions are going to be pretty sedentary and probably not going to move very much. Sorry, Ferg, don't start with me. So Ferg is giving me trouble. But while we kind of sit here and see if they do wake up, let's go back across to Ralph.
Yes, thank you, Tristan. And no, exactly, we do have a few lion males up here that do have black manes. Now, sorry, we just came towards one of the little gates that we're going to be heading towards, and in particular, the ones that I have already identified having reasonably black manes is 2 of the Chitwa boys, and I know from everything that I've read and pictures that Scarface, or Scar, as in the Lion King as well, has also got a very nice black mane. Generally, We also find predominantly black-maned lions in the sort of arid Kalahari regions. I'm not sure what Tristan has chatted to you about, but that is what I have noticed in regards to black-maned lions. Seems to be more a genetic variation in terms of more aridy regions, but we do have some up here as well. And I'm heading now into the area where we have been seeing the Angama pride and the marsh breakaway, as well as the Chitwa boys, and I am going to be taking a little road that goes along